I made some mozzarella cheese and I made some ricotta from 1 gallon of pasteurized milk.
Okay, so my husband bought me this cheese making kit from Standing Stone Farms, and he bought the kit that came with the pan, the cheesecloth, and it got 2 different types of strainers inside. And in the package that they sent is a guide to the cheese making book to show you what all different types of cheeses and butters that you can make. Even has a recipe in here for ghee, and I've really been wanting to try that. But we're gonna be making the, oh, it's got a cream cheese one too. We're gonna be making this super fast mozzarella and see how it turns out. So in the kit that he purchased, he got some non-iodized salt that came with it, some citric acid, some rennet, microbial rennet, some calcium chloride, some calf lipase. This is to, I think, to enhance the flavor of your cheese. I'm not sure. I think that's what it's for. And this is the mesophilic culture. And these, it says that to keep in the freezer. So you're gonna keep your citric acid, your calf lipase, and the mesophilic culture in the freezer. And this one says to keep in the refrigerator. And these can be at room temperature. This is the calcium chloride can be the salt and the cheese salt can be at room temperature, but these got to be refrigerated and in the freezer, kept in the freezer for storage. So I thought I would show everybody what it looks like before we get started. Now, because we're going to be getting some dairy animals, we're not sure which one we're going to be getting first, but I figured I better learn how to make some cheese because that's what I want. The butter and I want the cheese is like the main thing, you know, with the ice cream and stuff like that. But so there's a few recipes in here for compound butters that look like it would be really good. It says these work with chef cream cheese and ricotta cheeses too, not just for butters. You basically just add in a whole bunch of herbs and cream to the butters, it looks like. Making cultured butters. But it's got a lot of different, well, not a lot, but it's got a few. It's got Italian style ricotta, queso, the chèvre. I want to try to make the chèvre here and see how it turns out. But we're working with pasteurized milk. I can't get my hands on any raw milk around me, which I've been trying for the last year, and I haven't been able to find anybody that has anything open for any type of a herd share or anything like that. So we're working with pasteurized milk. So I got some in the fridge right now, and we're gonna get started. Oh, look! Cream cheese. Oh, we gotta try this one. You need 3 cups of whole milk, 3 cups heavy whipping cream, some mesophilic culture, some calcium chloride, and 2 drops of rennet to make cream cheese. And it gives you a detailed instructional. Yeah, it's really. Oh, and it has even a troubleshooting over here. Like if you are having trouble with your curd, tells you what you should do. So yeah, we're gonna give this a go. We're gonna try the mozzarella, this one right here. and see how it turns out.
So for this mozzarella recipe, we are going to be using the calcium chloride, the rennet, and we're also going to be using the citric acid and the lipase powder. I also have some gloves here, and we're going to be using some teaspoons and an eighth of a teaspoon, but don't forget a thermometer. You're also going to need a big pot to drain your curds and whey in, and you're going to also need a big pot for your milk to boil it in. So I was going to use this water over here and boil it for to dip the cheese in, but I was reading that you have to microwave this because pasteurized milk doesn't do very well with that method. So I had to microwave it, which I didn't really want to do, but because I had pasteurized milk, I figured I'd follow the directions and not even try it. I didn't want this to be a huge fail. So after pouring in your gallon of milk and before warming your milk, it says to add the citric acid to the milk and stir very gently 6 or 7 times in a gentle up and down motion. So that's what I'm doing first here. So after you do that, you're going to add your lipase powder. It's optional. You don't have to add this in there, but it says it's a flavor. It's basically a flavor enhancer. So I added it in there because if they say that, it adds flavor, I'm sure they know what they're talking about. So after you add this, it says you can then turn on the heat. So this whole time you don't even have the heat on yet. But it says to stir both of these in very slowly and gently. I'm guessing because it might clump or something. So I was pretty careful. I tried to follow the directions to a T so that it would turn out. So after adding the citric acid and the lipase, it says to begin to turn on your heat and heat to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And it says once milk reaches 85 degrees, remove from heat and prepare the calcium chloride and the rennet. So you're going to dilute your rennet into 1/4 of a cup of water, and for this recipe it calls for an eighth of a teaspoon. And for the calcium chloride, you're also going to dilute it 1 teaspoon into 1/4 of a cup of water as well. And I just wanted to add in that you see how the milk already is starting to look a little bit cottage cheesy over there before I even added any of the rennet or the calcium chloride. I thought I messed it up at this point, but I didn't. So if you're making cheese for the first time and think that you messed it up because it's starting to look wonky or whatever, don't worry. This is how it's supposed to look. So after you get all that prepared, you got to check the temperature and make sure that it is around 88 degrees before you start pouring the calcium chloride inside of it. And if it's 88 degrees, you got to remove it from the heat so that it don't get any hotter before you add the calcium chloride. But do you see how it's already starting to kind of look like cottage cheese a little bit in there? And I haven't even added any of the calcium chloride or the rennet yet. That's from the citric acid. So first you're going to put in the calcium chloride. And after you stir this gently for 6 or 7 times, then you'll add the rennet in. After you add in your rennet, you're going to stir it 6 or 7 times gently, and then you're going to let it sit off the heat for 2 minutes. After the 2 minutes have passed, you're going to return the pot back to the heat, stirring occasionally so that you can keep the curds off the bottom of the pot while you're heating it to 104 degrees. You will see the curds form and then split into curds and whey. Once you've reached 104 degrees, remove from heat if the curds resemble a creamy, thick cottage cheese. If they look like yogurt, let them sit in the hot whey off the heat for 1 minute to continue cooking and thickening. You may want to move them around gently to allow the heat to reach all of the curd. I'll remove the curds with a strainer, draining away as much whey as possible from the curds. Now, I will tell you that I almost tossed this out because I thought that this was a fail. Because to me, I didn't know what cheese was supposed to look like. I didn't know that it was supposed to look like a soupy mess like this. So I just kept, following the directions at this point, and it did come together, and I was really surprised. And as you can see, as I'm pulling the curds from the whey, when I'm straining it out, it starts to resemble more of a curd look and not a soupy look. So I'm really glad that I didn't just scrap it as soon as I poured it in here, because I was really discouraged. So if you get discouraged at this point, don't. It'll come together. Just be patient. So I'm just using my hand here to finish squeezing out all of the whey from the curds, and then I'm going to use my microwave. But if you don't have a microwave, you could just bring up some water up to about 135 degrees Fahrenheit and dip it in that in like 1 minute, 30-second intervals to start the stretch and fold process. So I forgot to show it, but I sprinkled on about 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt on top of the curds and then microwaved it for about 60 seconds. And then you're gonna drain off whatever whey comes out of the cheese. And you're gonna do this step I think I did mine about 3 times, I believe I did it, until all the whey was pretty much gone. And then at the last time that I microwaved it, I added another 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt to it. Now, I did not stir the curds while at any time during this microwaving period. I just squeezed out the whey. Now, another thing to note is that I will definitely be investing in some cheese making gloves, because these gloves that was provided from them, that, I think I burnt my hands like 2 or 3 different times. So if you have sensitive hands, be aware that you're probably going to need more than just these really flimsy latex gloves. So this was the second time that it had been microwaved for 60 seconds, and it's already starting to get the like stretchiness of the mozzarella cheese. And another thing that I did want to mention is that it does say that you should probably leave like at least a tablespoon to not like squeeze it completely dry when you're doing this process, because you could end up with a dry block of mozzarella cheese if you try to squeeze every little last bit out of it. So I did this twice, and it was already looking like it was pretty ready for the stretch and fold. The more that I worked this, the faster that it came together, like when I was working it with the spoon, because it was hot, so I used a spoon for a lot of this. So the directions say that after you are done removing it from the microwave, that you should start working it with the back of a spoon to stretch the cheese. At this point, it says to salt and salt to taste, but I didn't add any more salt to it, and it really didn't need it. But I mean, it's preference, I guess. It says the cheese should become shiny and smooth. You should need to reheat 1 to 2 times for 30 seconds to finish the stretching. I think I had to do mine 3 times to finish the stretching. I'm not sure if I needed to do that, but that's just what I did. And unless you're eating it hot, it says to work into a ball shape and shape it with your hands and allow it to cool. After it's cooled, it says drop the ball into a brine of salt water solution, 4 cups of water to 1 tablespoon of salt, and then chill it. So I didn't do any of that. The only thing that I did was I waited for it to cool down a little bit, and then I wrapped it in saran wrap.
Smells like cheese.
And then just put it in the refrigerator and waited for it to cool off.
11.4.
Okay, so since we finished making the mozzarella, I have all of this whey left over, and I don't have any more milk, but I wanted to see if I could make some ricotta, because I was reading that you can make ricotta out of your leftover whey. So I wanted to put it to the test. And man, you know how many times I wish I had some ricotta? Like if I was gonna make some lasagna or something and just didn't have any ricotta, or cottage cheese for that matter. If I'd have known it was this easy to do, I've been doing this a long time ago. So I heated up my whey back up, and I got it up to about 195, 200 degrees, and then I used a half a cup of vinegar and just stirred it gently, and it came together rather quickly. Now I let mine sit for I think it was 10 minutes after this. So because I was using pasteurized milk and not regular milk, plus I wasn't adding any more milk to it, so I think that probably helped with the whole, ricotta setup. So I really thought that this was kind of like a fail too, because I really didn't see any curds floating up to the top. Like I thought that there would be big curds or something, but they're there, but they're a lot smaller. And I'm gonna zoom in so that you can see. Do you see that they're there, but they're not as prominent as the other curds that we worked with. Plus, with this being pasteurized milk, and I didn't add any more milk to it, I mean, of course you're not going to get big chunks, but in my mind, I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is supposed to have big chunks, but no, it's not going to. So all I'm doing here is basically the same thing that I did with the mozzarella cheese. I just started pulling the whey away from the curd and the strainer, trying not to like mash down any of this because it's pretty liquidy, and I'm just trying to slowly, you know, get the whey out. And I wasn't sure if this was going to come together, but it really did, and I'm really pleased with what I got with this ricotta, and it was not hard to do at all. I mean, you just heat your whey back up. So I will definitely be doing this, making my own cheese for now on. Now with the ricotta, I ended up salting it while I was getting the whey out, so I could, you know, get the flavor of the salt more evenly distributed through it, because it's so much softer than, you know, the mozzarella. But see, it's already starting to look like ricotta. I'm so overjoyed by how this turned out. I'm like ready to start, you know, jumping into, you know, making all the cheeses now, because I was so excited that both of these turned out so well. So if you were going to be making some Italian style ricotta, you would use a gallon of whole milk, 2 cups of heavy whipping cream with a teaspoon of citric acid and some salt. And knowing that, I think that this will be on my rotational to keep in the fridge and freezer, because you can freeze this for 3 months. This tasted delicious. I mean, there's really no comparison for homemade stuff anyway, but I was scared to make my own cheese. So if you're scared to make your own cheese, if you don't try, you can't fail. If you try, you might fail anyway. But better to have failed than to never have tried at all. Oh, that's good. Which one do you want to do first?
It don't matter.
So this is the ricotta, which it's got a little bit of lemon in there, so you may not like it, but do you want to try it with the cracker or without the cracker?
With a cracker.
Okay. I kind of want to try it without the cracker.
Tastes like mozzarella cheese.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. I like it. It tastes like the string cheese that you get in the store.
Mm.
You know that full part cheese? That's exactly what this tastes like. Which is mozzarella, but mozzarella cheese to work with you tomorrow.
I could.
To snack on. I wonder how it grates.
Both the mozzarella and the ricotta cheese will keep in your fridge for 7 days or can be frozen for up to 3 months.
Grades up really good.
So these two cheese making experiments were a huge success, and they grated nice. So I wanted to see if they melted nice. So I topped our dinner with a whole bunch of the rest of the shredded cheese that I shredded up. And let me tell you, this cheese was amazing. It tasted amazing. It melted amazing. It tasted, you could tell, I mean, I could anyway, I could tell a big difference between this mozzarella cheese and then the stuff that you get from the store. Tasted a lot, of course it's going to taste a lot fresher, but I'm not sure if it was the lapes that I put in this mozzarella cheese, but it made it, like, it really did enhance the flavor of this cheese. So I would recommend using that if you're not a vegetarian, because it says it is not vegetarian. I'd like to say thank you to everybody that has stopped by on this cheese making day, and I hope that you will like, share, and subscribe. And I hope that everyone has a blessed day.